All right, and we are live without viewers yet, but they'll be here.
Hello, viewers. Hello out there in TV.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, hopefully we get some people soon. I got my boy in the background over here, but he's kind of cheering me on from the sidelines. Yeah.
Do people usually check in first?
Yeah, before we start.
I mean, you can look on. I did my homework. You can check all my socials. You know I've been doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Hey, we have a viewer. Hello, guys. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. This is Abyssinia here, and I'm the host of this new series called Model 101, where we basically are sharing advice to aspiring models and current industry models. You know, you could always use new and current information. So I'm here with Keith Major, an amazing beauty photographer. He's been working in the industry for over 30 years. He's been featured in Essence magazine, Cosmopolitan magazine, and so much more. And I'm also here with Chaz Langley, another amazing photographer. He focuses a lot on street photography, and he's currently doing a lot of FaceTime photo shoots, you know, now that we're in quarantine, stuck in the house. Everybody's doing something new. So these FaceTime photo shoots, amazing. I really want to hear a lot about that. And then he was also featured in, correct me if I say this wrong, Fotografiska, New York.
Yeah, Fotografiska. Yeah, Fotografiska.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was just yesterday that came through. So that was really cool.
So congratulations on that. And myself, I've been modeling for 6 years here, give or take. I honestly don't even remember. But I do a lot more commercial and print modeling, not so much of the runway. And then I was like, you know, I do believe in each one teach one. So I did want to share some advice to aspiring models, because I know when I started out, I had no idea what I was doing, and I could surely use these tips that I'm offering now. So I was like, hey, why not? And, you know, we have all this free time, so it's the perfect timing. So thank you guys for tuning in, and welcome, you guys. Thank you for joining me, Keith and Chaz.
Welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining. So what amazing tips do you guys have for these aspiring models out here?
Well, Keith, I'll let you go, the elder statesman.
All right. The first thing that comes to mind is always that it's a business. And when you look at it through that lens, some of the things begin to make more sense. It's not necessarily a beauty contest, and it's not necessarily built for your feelings. And so when you begin to look at it that way, then you begin to understand what the parameters are. In many ways, it can seem unfair, and it can hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, you know, you get into basically the business of judging people. You're looking at their looks, their features, and you're deciding whether or not they're going to work for what you're doing. And that's the key, that part of the sentence where I said, is it going to work for what you're doing? Sometimes it's not so much that you aren't the right one. It's more like you're not right for that particular project.
Exactly.
And then also, unfortunately, you have to deal with people's taste. Since people are making decisions, you know, their taste in beauty is going to affect who they cast. It's hard not to take that personally, but you shouldn't take it personally. And with that, I don't want to get into too much right now because there's still a bit more that I can speak to, but I want to open the floor a bit more to you guys.
I definitely agree with that. You really can't take it personally. It's hard not to. Everybody's human. You go into an audition or you go to a casting and you're really excited. You want to get selected, and then you hear no. it sucks. Your feelings do get hurt, but then you have to think of it as, okay, this one wasn't meant for me. I'll get the next one. Just keep going forward. Don't give up, especially if this is something that you want to do, or just in life in general, like not necessarily for modeling, but anything that you do, you're not always going to hear yes. And it is all about opinions. And I think it's important to know that the industry changes a lot and it's always changing. So you might hear no one day from this casting director for this particular project, but then he might actually keep you on roster for something else. So it is that also goes with professionalism. You want to stay positive and professional throughout everything, even if you're hearing these no's, because you never know, they might consider you for something else. Like, would you agree, Keith?
Totally agree with that.
Absolutely. If I could speak to that, I kind of straddle the fence on both sides of the lens, because I do go in for castings and such as well, even still as an actor, as a model. And so I definitely know both sides of that. And when you can see it from the inside out, it definitely gives you because obviously, you know, as a photographer, you look for a particular, we cast as photographers. Keith, I'm sure you can agree with that. We cast for what we need a project, what we need for any particular project. But when you're going in, you kind of feel exposed because you know the process. So there is that side of like, here I am on the other side of the lens and kind of being, you know, essentially judged, you know what I mean? So here it is.
That's interesting. One of the things that I remember most about casting, that the first thing that comes to mind is I've always found it very uncomfortable, because by the end of the day, I'm worn out, you know, because you feel that energy of desire for getting the job, and, you know, you feel the angst, at least I do, you know, I feel the angst that some of the talent has, and you feel for them. And it's if you're a nice person, it feels fairly unnatural to judge people, and, you know, to see 100 people per se, and know that you're only choosing 2 or 3 is not easy.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, I mean, I don't envy, you know, casting directors and things of that nature, because they know, you know, for the same feelings that Keith, you just expressed, that everybody's hopeful situation, and you start eternalizing a lot of their anxiety. Wow, they gotta feed their family, or hey, they gotta pay rent. Like, all that stuff creeps in your head.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, and so
I've never
most models wouldn't think that the casting person, you know, unless they're just really a jerk, you know, has a heart too. And the era of, I mean, I started when I was assisting, it was like way back in the day, totally filmed, 1984. And I would say in the middle 80s, you had bad people and jerks and all that sort of, you know, thing was part of the mix. As the stakes got higher, as the competition was raised, as more people became aware, I noticed that, and then when the economy changed, I noticed that being a jerk didn't work anymore. And so the people that were like prima donnas on set started to disappear. The people that weren't fun to be around started to disappear. You know, it can be a difficult industry, but it's a lot nicer than it used to be.
Really, that's good to know. I do feel like usually everyone on set is very pleasant. And if you're not pleasant on set, they most likely won't call you back, because nobody wants to work with somebody who's not good to be around.
Yeah, and that's sort of expanded. I can think of one model in particular that's having a big battle online with people in the social media. And now that we have social media, it's expanded to that context. And so if you are perceived as being difficult, having extreme views, people may not want to be around you, because, you know, you generally want to have a nice day at work, and you don't really want to feel like you're going to come to work and have to, you know, defend yourself or fight with somebody and feel bad about who and what you are.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have to be careful. I think now with regards to who you are in social media, because now we can all see everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't always like that, but now it is like that. But one of the things that does come to mind too is I think for the aspiring model who moves to the big city, whether it's New York or LA, you have to understand that it's sort of like being in the playoffs in sports, where you're in the room with when you're in the playoffs in sports, it's generally the best players and the best teams. And so the stakes are high and it's more difficult. And I've watched this play out too many times where, let's say you're a girl from, a city in Kentucky and everybody knows your name and you're the prettiest girl in that town. And then you go to your first casting in New York. And for the first time in your life, you walk into a room where there are, 50 girls or even guys that are just as attractive as you.
Right.
Which you've never experienced before. You may even walk into the room and find that for some people, particularly if you're from a place that's not as populated as New York City, you might walk into the room for the first time and see someone that you think is more attractive than you. And that might be the first time in your life that has ever happened. And I've seen models kind of freak out with that. But you have to realize that, again, because it's a business, those things don't matter. It's who's right for the job. Be around. And then also there's the X factor. Can you communicate well? Can you perform well? Can you move and take pictures? Because one of the things that people forget is that the model has a part to play too.
Mm-hmm.
I can't always tell you how to pose. I can't always tell you what to do. I need to be the photographer. Makeup needs to be makeup. Hair needs to be hair. And model needs to be model. And sometimes that means, model, you have a job to do. So just being attractive is not enough, because in the room, everybody's attractive.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And then that's where it comes in, where models should be practicing at home in the mirror, practicing your poses, taking runway classes if you're interested in doing runway, and then just really investing in yourself, because you can't just have a pretty face and then get in front of the camera and freeze up. I mean, it happens, right? I would say it happens, but then practice makes it over time.
Learn to work that. Like, you have to learn that it's not acceptable to get in front of the camera and freeze up if you're being asked to model.
Yeah.
Any more than, Chaz or I are not allowed to, not be able to take a good photograph.
Right. I could tell you this. I remember there was an early time in my life, way before photography, where I actually used to teach modeling classes. I used to teach skincare. I used to teach runway. And some of the people, what I really got from it, that it really was a self-esteem class, essentially, because how many times, there's so many people that would say, how do they get it? They don't look half as good as so-and-so. But then the more you got to know that person, they really unfolded to this beautiful flower.
Yeah.
You're like, it may, like he said, you may not be the best looking person in the room, but if you have a smile, if you have something that is that X factor, that thing that makes people go, there's something just about that person that really allows me to want to be around them. You look at people like Will Smith, you look at people that are just magnetic at who they are. That's the kind of thing, but it's hard to really show those things when you're just on like a casting call, And
that too, like, a lot of times when you go to the castings, they want to see personality.
Right.
If you're submitting a video audition tape, they want to see your personality, and even like display through pictures. Mm-hmm. And maybe you guys can help me touch on that, because if I get called in for an audition and they ask me to read these lines for commercial, how much personality can I really put in that one line? Like, there's only so much I can do, and then sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't want to overdo it.
Well, I mean, I would say, I can speak from my vantage point, and I can also see how other people do it as well, because I think different people audition different ways. Because I think once you see a tried and true way that you've done something that's successful, you may ride that thing into, while you're still getting the work, you may ride that particular way of getting the jobs. But then for some jobs, that same way is not going to work. So I've picked up from different people, they let their personality out in their initial slate, And then that at least gives a small iota of a glimpse to casting that, okay, there's a personality. I know they got to go through the formalities of reading or doing everything else, but I want to see that initial spark. I want to see something that engages them, eye contact. Maybe there's something you may notice. I mean, it may be a little extra, but everyone's always looking for that one little thing they can do to help them be remembered by casting. You know what I mean? Compliment their or something like that. It may seem a little extra, but hey, that's your shot.
That's a good point. And then I also heard that it's good to just get to know the casting directors as the talent. Like a lot of times you're getting called in by the same directors. So it's good to know them by name and greet them by name when you see them, because then you'll definitely stand out, and then they'll want to learn your name.
Right.
So
that helps. One of the things too is when you're reading lines, you have to understand that there is one of the things that's not understood about the art, and I would say that modeling can be an art. Acting is certainly an art. When you're reading a line, try to understand what the material is and convey the proper emotion that goes with it. For example, if you have a tragedy in your life where people were, coming down on you, they were talking ill about you, and then you get a line to read that speaks to that, use that experience. And I'm speaking from a specific experience. I knew of a model who was going through a terrible time in the media and had an audition tape where she was reading lines that were very specific to what she was doing. And she was reading them dry. Like she was like, teacher called her to ask, can you read the lines? Can you read this part of the book? And she's in second grade. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, she doesn't understand aesthetics. Like she doesn't understand that the energy is right there on the page. Mm-hmm. And you've got to jump into that character and emote that energy, and which is the next level, so it's sort of like, if you get a line to read where you have to act angry at your husband, you've got to act angry at your husband. You don't just read the line with a pretty smile on your face. Yeah,
you got to go in full 100%. Give it your all. Practice a few times. Just give it your all. So we have a question, though. This kind of veers off from what we're talking about currently, but Chandra asks, I'm an older woman interested in commercial modeling. What advice do you have for me? So I can start, and then you guys could just finish off with your thoughts. But I would say it's great that you know what type of modeling you want to get into, which is commercial, because there's so many areas within modeling. And I would say just start with getting some headshots. They don't have to be done professionally. They could be done with a smartphone, like against a white wall, plain background, natural lighting. And then just start putting yourself out there to casting directors or talent scouts. There are a lot of hashtags on Instagram of people who are scouting. And then another thing you could do is use models.com, and they have a list of tons of agencies nationwide. And then look for a commercial agency since you know you're interested in commercial modeling. And then see what requirements they're asking for to submit. Like once you go on their website, it'll list the requirements, and then just go about it that way. So you can try the agency way, and then you could also try getting scouted on your own, and that's like through social media. And that's what I would say on that. What do you guys think?
I think that was perfect advice.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's great. And I think, I think there's been a shift as it relates to how we communicate and how we get ourselves out there. And Instagram is definitely one of those platforms.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that I hate trends. I'm like the last person on something because when I see a trend or I see a group of people huddled somewhere, the other way. Like that's just my natural instinct. So I was probably late to the Instagram game because I was like, oh, it's another trendy social media.
I was late to it too. I didn't want to veer from Facebook. I was like,
Yeah.
Insta. I'm like,
And this is before I was even shooting, to be honest with you, to a degree to where I have a lot of work to share or just a lot of my interests and, whatever. So, but I just think putting your best face forward, if your page is all about you, then make sure your content is tight, work with one photographer, that you develop a relationship with, so that when you do shoot, it's a seamless relationship, and that you can get what you need to get in minimal time. You can definitely expedite the process, and also just be more efficient with the way that you're shooting, and put your best face forward. If you trust that one photographer, or you have maybe 2 or 3 photographers you work with that may work with different strengths that you're trying to convey on your particular page. And then, like you were saying, definitely use the proper hashtags and stuff like that. I've learned a lot. But hashtags do matter.
Yeah, for sure. And you can Google, there are a lot of articles that cover trending hashtags or hashtags, or even if you go on the agency. So once you figure out what agencies you're interested in working with, usually they have their own hashtag that they use to scout talent. Right. So you can also do that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And also, I as I've told, I have a couple of clients, and one in which is an older gentleman. Just to kind of speak to Chandra's question, he's an older gentleman, doesn't know really much about social media and Instagram. I literally built his Instagram from the bottom up, and I taught him the whole game about where his lane is as it relates to what his hashtag should be, and I said, also, you got to do your homework in between posts and do some cyber knocking, which essentially is like going to like different people within your hashtag searches. So like
your community and build relationships.
If the gentleman and has a gray beard, then okay, we'll find that hashtag, like people within that space, they'll see you, and then by the next time you post, you'll be the first on their timeline because you've had activity with them.
Yeah,
so there's so many little things, like if you want to go, Black Girl Magic, or if you want to go model, with curly hair, or whatever you want to put, you're essentially grooming your audience, essentially, is what I found out through the years, through my particular post and also people that I work with. So I think just putting your best face forward, being consistent with your looks, and also, sharing the love by, extending a like or a comment to other people within your aesthetic or space.
Yeah, and then definitely. And it's not even, Chandra, you mentioned that you're an older woman interested. I'm happy that you're, Feather. I'm happy that you're not letting your age stop you from getting into it, because modeling, there's room for everyone, all shapes and sizes. And especially with commercial and print, they're always looking for real life. Like a lot of the times in the casting description, it says real life. Like they don't want somebody that identifies as a model. They want somebody who actually has a full-time job a lot of the times, because they're more relatable. So just be natural, be comfortable, be you, and just take like commercial shots, the ones that you see on commercials. That's how you want to look. Like you don't want to look too done up, and you can start from there.
Right.
So let's move on to another topic. Let's talk about how a model would work with one of you talented gentlemen. So do you do trade for print work, or how do you, if you're interested in booking a model for a project, like how do you go about doing that?
I'll let you start on this one, because
all right. Well, for me, a lot of it has to do with the fact that I've been doing this a long time, and so the choices I make are done through that filter. What that means is I'm very specific about whether or not your look is going to fit what I'm trying to do or say. If that's the case, then there may be an opportunity where you'll shoot with me, and you will get images that you're not, hiring me to do. I'm just doing it for my book or for editorial purposes, and it's like, free, fair trade. I make myself available for what they used to call pay tests. Things have changed so much that who knows where we're at right now. Yeah. But I very rarely do, the test for print thing, unless I'm interested, unless your look and your concepts fit my agenda, what I'm trying to do. I really don't do it that often. And that's only because I have an extensive portfolio. Mm-hmm. I have done it for a while. And, I'm more of the, being in, the the years that I'm in, and the amount of years I put into the game, I'm at that place where I'm giving advice more than I'm trying to get started.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I'm giving advice to younger photographers and younger people coming into the business. That I love all the young talent and support what they do. If you know me, you know that I really care for, young talent. But unfortunately, I can't always just, do test for print because I'm just not in that space.
I got it. So just for you viewers who don't know what TFP is, or test for print, sometimes also known as trade for print, it's basically a bartering system where creatives, they work with each other in exchange for the products, the final product, whether it's a video or whether it's a finished video or photos. So that's trade for print. And sometimes if you're an upcoming model, or whether you're developed or not, and you just want to broaden your portfolio and you have somebody that you're interested in working with, you can reach out to them and provide them with a vision board. It's beneficial if you go about it the most professional way. So I would say have a vision board, have a mood board. Don't just say, "Oh, I want to work with you," because it's not going to work out.
That's true.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that right there, I think is key as well, because when you see that there's a mutual effort to one goal, that's the thing. Because if you're using me to get photographs, especially in the climate that we're in with social media and stuff, and everybody's a photographer, some people feel that, okay, I just get free photos, and I'll just throw the caveat or the moniker of TFP just to make it sound professional.
Yeah. But time is money, and it has to be worth my time as it's worth yours.
Right. So, I mean,
exactly.
If somebody's coming to me with a mood board, someone's coming to me with something of value, like, Keith said, if it's something that's mutually, beneficial, then let's talk, right? But if you're established and you know who you are, and it's just someone looking to get free photos just to look like the latest on Instagram, I'm like, no, it's got to be a little bit deeper than that for me. Yeah. And nowadays, there's a conundrum because a lot of people from the photography world, they're shooting for free because they're trying to get there too. So they ruin it for a lot of people who are more established, because that makes it look like that's the standard, and it's not really that.
Yeah, unfortunately, photography is one of those mediums that isn't that difficult to start and do. It takes a while to get good, but there are many good people.
Right.
Back in the day, way back in the day, before the, I guess in the 40s and 50s, there were only a handful of photographers. And then I believe it was the 60s, maybe early 70s, a movie came out called Blow Up. And it featured a fashion photographer who was living this crazy, amazing life, where he's running around with his 35 millimeter, having parties and doing all these amazing things with models. That started the first photography explosion.
Yeah.
So you went from having only a handful of photographers to thousands of photographers, and this was like the 70s. And then that kind of fell off because film had a built-in thing where film was expensive, it took time to learn, and so film, just by the nature of the science, weeded out lots of people.
Right.
But now you had more photographers. Then the next wave was digital. And when the digital platforms happened, you no longer had the challenges of film. So things that used to take years to learn were reduced to a moment. So now you had more creative people who are able to get involved. And so the value of, the image has changed because there are more people doing it. I've seen models do selfies that are awesome, and if you're good at that, you can do your own selfies to get it to send to an agency, or your own digitals, if you were. And I guess, Abyssinia, you can explain what a digital is for people that don't know, but you can do that yourself. And so the playing field has really changed. However, and because of that, I still say, reach out to me if you would like me to take photographs and you really can't afford to pay. I might be interested because I still do things creatively because I still love to do this. And so I'm still always shooting things that aren't, on the dollar. However, there are there are times where it just doesn't work. Like, for instance, I had someone contact me yesterday, and the woman's site was about real estate. It was about money. It was about finance.
Nothing in your
rich, right? And everything was pro-entrepreneur. And then she asked me, do I collaborate? Which is the other buzzword for I don't want to pay.
Free. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, and you know, I was very polite in my response. And then finally I said, you know, your profile on Instagram is all about finance. And I very respectfully, and I might have used the word respectfully, you know, it sounds like you're not trying to pay for quality work. And then I noticed she went to my Instagram and started and liked a couple of things. And then I realized also that there's this other fallacy where it's like you just approach a photographer, shoot me for free, and you have no idea about the person's work. You didn't study their work. You didn't study their website. I mean, you know, she would have known had she looked at my work.
I feel like that's
not the guy to, if you're a middle-aged woman selling real estate and entrepreneurship and financial, you know, knowledge, you probably can't come to me and ask me to shoot for free because I'm the photo version of you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I feel like that's a great point about them not knowing and not doing their research about what type of work you do. And I feel like that's something that we can touch on because as a model or as a creative, when you're approaching these photographers, you should look at their work and see if it's your portfolio fit, see if they have the quality that you're looking for. There's different, maybe you guys can touch on the different types of photography because you could have beauty, you can have editorial. I don't know all of the different types, but I wouldn't go to a beauty photographer, correct me if I'm wrong. I wouldn't think to go to a beauty photographer for like my portfolio digitals or for like regular, natural, calm editorial look. Mm-hmm. Especially if I don't see any of that on your page.
Yeah, and most of us feel like we can do everything, but you really should, you know, be able to look at the page and see if that person has done any work that fits your goal.
Right.
I think the issue has been that the problem why people don't research, I believe, is an age-old photographic issue. Because even before digital, this was always a problem. I think it's because everyone has had a camera in their hands before, and everyone has taken a picture. And so most people believe it's not that difficult.
Relatable.
And if I just had an expensive camera, I could get a good picture. Or if I just spent time doing this, I could get a good picture. And so that's built in that sort of like laissez-faire attitude where people come and look for free work because, you know, it's something that they might, you know, would do for free. And they don't really regard it as a profession. I mean, no one ever goes to the doctor and demands their price and tells the doctor how they want it done. or even says, oh, I have a scalpel just like that one. Or I have, you know, I mean, I have a surgical tool just like yours, you know. But a photographer will hear something like that on set sometimes.
And I think too, a lot of people don't take into time. Like I'm a creative as well, so I just started recently editing my food videos. I'm also a chef, if you guys don't know, but I take food videos and I edit my videos. So it takes a lot of time. It's very time consuming. So I can imagine you guys going home, not after like a 2-hour shoot, you have to set up. So there's the back end of it, but then you're on set for an hour or more. And then you have to go home and edit the final product, which takes time. So time is money again, and you're getting quality images. So you get what you pay for. Like there are ways that you can shoot. There's always a photographer within your budget. And then if you search really hard, you'll be able to find a low budget photographer that has great work. But then if you go to a photographer's page and they have amazing, immaculate work, I feel like you just should respect their rates. If it's not in your range, say, okay, respectfully, I can't afford it right now, but I would love to work with you in the future, and double back when you can afford it. But don't insult them by trying to get them to lower the rate or like ask.
Stay in touch because sometimes we're doing things for free, and you might be the right person, you know, at that time. And if you're, you know, if you're on my roster or in my Rolodex per se, and you stayed in touch, then I might, you know. There might be that time where I'm like, yeah, come on, let's do something. I want to work something out. So.
I think it's all about the approach. I mean, we're in the people business. So there is far beyond the shot is before the shot is taken, there has to be a rapport. So, just speak to when you're working with models and you want to get the best out of them. Keith, I'm sure you could probably attest to this too. Having a conversation, having some sort of a warm up to the moment. It's like, you just put it out there. It's like lovemaking. You don't just go straight there. There is a warm up process. There is a get to know you process. There is all those different variables when it comes to
foreplay.
Yeah. So, you got to get the best out of them. You don't want to just, all right, we'll just stand over there and I just start shooting. There is no relationship. There's nothing that you can kind of speak to. Maybe there's something that was kind of like a little quirk they did that may bring their personality out if it's like a headshot sort of situation. You go, oh, remember that one thing that we were talking about earlier? You have something to refer to. So, when it comes to working with models and getting their best in a situation, I think communication before, during, and after is the key to this whole thing.
I would agree.
Yeah.
All right. And then, so what if you're on set and are you guys good with guiding models with poses? Like, do you have any recommendations on the best poses? And if I'm doing an at-home shoot, how would I set it up, like with lighting and everything? I know I only learned recently when I got into all of this fashion and film industry that the light should always be in front of you and not behind you. But there are a lot of people who don't know this. So are there any tips that you guys can offer with that?
Offer with how to set your place up if
question. Let me address the first part of the question, I think, which was how do you go about directing a model on set if they don't? It really depends because depends on what you're doing,
right?
And whether it's fashion or beauty. Generally, I do two things. I do what Chaz said, where you try to get to know the person a bit, but I never push that hard. One of the things I do is I observe, and believe it or not, I'm actually watching you, and I find that I end up directing you into things that I saw that I felt were going to look good on camera that you are actually doing. I also try to get you to relax because once that person has made it into the room for the photo shoot, chances are a lot of the vetting process has already happened. And so if you can just relax and be yourself, we're going to find a place where we get into that dance where we start to get good pictures. And sometimes I would just, even start off with pictures that I know aren't very good, just to get to that place where we can relax. And then once the person's relaxed, then we start to take better pictures.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember years ago, I had and we're still friends, a model friend of mine. And, she was I knew her way. And she really liked to take lots of pictures. And it took her a while to warm up. And she would always do lots of lousy poses in the beginning. And then she got really good. And she was a good friend with my girlfriend. And my girlfriend's like, no. And I'm like, shh. And I turned to my girlfriend, like, leave her alone. I'm like, because this is her process. Like, I need to let her go through this ugly period to get to the good stuff.
Right.
And you trying to censor her out of the bad stuff with her personality, it just frustrates the issue. Now, that's not going to work on a catalog set. But, in certain situations, that's fine. And if I could digress, why I say catalog sets, because when you're on a catalog, when it's catalog fashion, there are a bunch of things that you have to consider. If you want to be a fashion model, it's not about so much your looks and about your height and weight and all that stuff. But it is. It is because we need to get you on set. You need to be able to put on the clothes. I can't have a bunch of different sizes for a bunch of different people. We need somebody to walk in, put on the clothes, they fit. That's why everyone's the same size and the same height, because it's efficient, because a designer can't make a bunch of different things. They need to have the same size. It's just a more efficient way of working. And then you need to get on set and you need to be able to pose so we can get to the next shot, because you might have a day where we're doing 50 shots. Mm-hmm. You can't spend 20 minutes trying to get you warmed up.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother thing. Like, to be a catalog model, generally you've graduated to that point where you've gone through all the steps of learning how to model, you're the right size and weight, you're with a great agency, and you know what this is all about.
Yeah, I think everyone's experience coming to the table at once, I think that's the big part of it as well, because just as much as we've learned all of our technical, things as it relates to our gear, those are things that you should be working on and polishing, whether it be looking at your, doing your poses and faces in the mirror, that walk, taking time to learn how to, apply makeup, and all the little things that takes you being a professional, just as well as we need to be those professionals too.
Yeah.
And just like I was mentioning before, it goes back to the communication. And when I say that, it's interesting now, I'm finding myself sharpening my communication skills because I'm now working with people through their phones. So that's a totally different thing. So communication has to be at a paramount, especially when you're working with someone you've never worked with before, and you have this other gadget in between you where you don't have the variable of like a waving of a hand. I'm doing it now, but it's essentially being able to direct someone with the way you say it, and essentially how you say it, like move to the left. You have to think sometimes, you have to think differently.
Yep.
Once you get into that mind space, it's like, I can't wait to get back out and really full-fledged get on, using my camera again, because, going through a phone is great, but I think that sharpens my direction even to communicate. I got into, photography by shooting on my cell phone before I even got my first real camera. And
that's good.
Posted enough stuff that looked professional enough to where it's like, oh, what camera did you use? I'm like, well, that was my HTC whatever.
Yeah.
They're like, dude, camera. So out of necessity, I kind of got into this game, and once I learned and I did my 10,000 hours of life and YouTube and friends and tutorials and meetings and and seminars, and put that work in. That's fine. Put that work in.
Invest in yourself.
And also, getting back to investing in yourself, one of the things that I think I wanted to touch on this, which may be a bit of a tangent, but it's really important for a lot of models because a lot of models don't understand this. Let's put it this way. If Abyssinia decided to color her hair and cut it tomorrow, what she's just done is she's just negated all the photographs that she has in her book. She's negated the look that clients have been used to, that know her for that, and she's negated what the agency has been marketing her as. And I've seen models get dropped from their agencies for doing that very thing. You have to realize, again, going back to the top of the conversation, that it's a business. And so you can't be the girl who decides you're going to change your hair every week, because it doesn't work like that as a professional model.
Right. They're all big.
And particularly with an agency, you can't just willy-nilly change your hairstyle without having a conversation with your agency about, the direction that they're going in with you. Because also you have to figure that as a photographer, if I'm casting a model and I'm looking for, natural hair like Abyssinia's, and I say I like her, and then she shows up blonde with a blonde close cropped haircut.
Yeah. You're gonna be like, what?
What happened? I had a girl, it was just a test, and it was a TFP, I guess you could call it. Yeah. And I knew her look. I liked her look. I thought she was professional. And, she had natural hair, and she showed up at my house with silky locks. And it's like, what?
That's a great point. And it's actually, when you're signed, it's listed in the contract that before you change your image, you have to consult with your agent because of that very reason. They can't book you. Yeah. Or if it's approved, then be prepared to pay money for new headshots, because now you have to update your portfolio.
Yeah. It's so crazy. I mean, it's a business, and people get it's so much so that I remember once you have models. I've seen models be upset because they don't like the clothes that they're put in. And they literally have a bad performance because they don't like the clothing that they're put in. And it's just like, but it's not about you, and you're getting paid to do this. Like, what?
Yeah. There's some questions. Is there some questions?
Yeah,
let's touch on this. So Chandra said, I hope I'm saying your name right, Chandra, but she wanted to thank us for our advice. So we're glad you tuned in. You're very welcome. And thank you for your question.
Yeah.
And we also have a question from Michael. This says, any advice for someone who wants to assist a photographer with the goal of learning as well as being an assistant of assistants?
Interesting.
Well, I think that what I look for in an assistant is I'd like assistants who want to be photographers, first of all.
What?
I also like assistants who understand and I'm going to use the word old, which is for some reason in the United States, sometimes it's not an issue. There's always this issue of youth culture. But you have to understand the old world ideals of the apprentice, in that you are going to learn by helping me. And so your mission should be do all that I can to make the photographer's job easier. My job is not easier if you're trying to direct the shot while I'm shooting, try to get your ideas in on set while I'm shooting, pull out your camera while I'm shooting. That is not what an assistant does. And in the current marketplace that we're in, many professionals like myself are complaining that we can't find good assistants, because the age bracket that's traditionally where you find a pool of assistants, those people have grown up and have thrown out the apprentice model. And so basically it's almost like there was this one scene in a HBO thing where the intern wasn't doing his job very well, and it was kind of a joke. And at one point, the interns they're like, "What are you doing? We need you to do something." He's like, "No, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do that." And they're like, "You want to do what?" "I want to do that." And he pointed to the star. They were on a film set. He pointed to the star that was sitting in the car who was being shot. And he said, "I want to do that." And that's what a lot of youth culture has become. It's like, I want to be the photographer. I don't want to be the assistant. And that's fine. If you want to do that, then you have to go shoot.
Right.
And you have to do those things and market yourself and do that. But if you want to assist, you have to assist. Now, that's what I did. We were taught, because I was the guy who went to school for photography. So when I got out in college that I was paying for, they told us, the first thing you do is go and assist and get paid very little, but that's you getting your master's degree. And they were right. I went out and I did anything the photographer asked. But I learned more in 4 weeks than I learned in 4 years of college.
Oh, yeah.
And I had one peer who used to work for the same guy. He was like, "No, I don't want to do that." He goes, "You get your own damn cold sesame noodles," because my photographer would send me on errands to get beer, and he loved eating these cold sesame noodles. Now, the guy that didn't want to do the noodles is no longer in the business, and his photograph like he didn't assist.
What now?
One of the kids who had worked with me, he says, even of his peers, they're like, "How do your photographs look like that?" And he goes, "Well, I assisted, and I learned how it was done."
There's someone here shouting you out right now. Rance.
Yeah, Rance and I. Now, see, Rance is an interesting case, because Rance was a creative director at an ad agency, and we met on a job. And Rance is a unique situation, because Rance, I call him Wiz. He knows I call him Wiz, because Rance is like I would say the modern Renaissance man, in that he can write code. He's an excellent drafts person. He understands the computers in and out. He's also an excellent photographer, as well as an excellent communicator. And he's just always curious and open to doing things. But people like Rance make great assistants, because their understanding of the entire picture is so clear that when you ask him to help, he's going to help. He's not going to step on your toes. He's going to help you do. And if there's something that you, as an assistant, you strongly feel like the photographer needs to hear, you do it professionally. Maybe you pull him to the side, or you whisper it in his ear. You don't, step on his toes and try to be him or her.
Yeah.
Professional decorum, I think, when it comes down to that. And by the way, Rance, thanks for the compliment on the frames. I actually represent this brand. They're out of the UK, called Black Eyewear, just so you could look them up. But but yeah, absolutely, all those things, man. It's like I call it the lion and hyena work relationship. As far as like, the hyena being the quote unquote assistant that's not willing to be an assistant. They're just there to pick off of what the lion is kind of created.
That's a good term, yeah.
Yeah. So but yeah, I personally, I'm not to the degree of doing huge productions to where I need an assistant and need to enlist the help of someone else. But I must say, I have had people that I'm directing to help me, whether it be getting BTS, behind the scenes and things of that nature, where I know that's beneficial for the scene or the particular shoot that I'm doing. I know where the energy is. And I think just being able to direct anyone that's assisting you or helping you, whether it be someone's, working with me to I use I use minimal gear. So there's not a matter of having someone tote stuff for me or do any sort of help like that. I may need a bag or two lift it, but I wouldn't qualify that as having an assistant. But I think when you have someone supporting you, I think they just need to know where they stand in the mix so that they can help make the best product possible.
Yeah. I mean, you actually do learn a lot by helping and being there. You don't have to do it.
Right.
If you're on set, you'll see, I learned so much just being on set.
Yeah.
I went and got beer. I did run errands and buy food. I did a lot of grunt work, but I also, packed the equipment and watched how the photographer handled models, how he handled clients. And then there's certain subtle things that you learn. For instance, my very first assistant shoot, I might have been a week out of college. And hair and makeup show up and they get set up. And then the model walks in and I didn't know anything. I look at the model and I go, oh my God. This is going to be, how is this going to work? She doesn't look anything like what we're trying to do. Like what? I didn't know that clean hair, clean face was a thing. I didn't know that a model should show up bare and raw and clean to a shoot because I was still a kid out of college. And, I went and bowed and set up the lights, expecting it's going to be horrible. And then she walked out. And as soon as I took a look at her, I realized that I had a lot to learn.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, because it was like, wow, you really didn't know what you were talking about, Keith. She's the real thing. You just didn't know it.
Right.
And there's a learning curve to just even understanding that part, But anyway, if I can answer the question succinctly, you will learn as an assistant if you're willing to assist and help.
Right.
And put a time limit on it. I was told, do it for a year and then start working for yourself, start building your career. So that's what I did. Some people do it a little longer and then they start building their career.
Yeah.
We have a few questions. We're almost at our hour mark, but we do have a few questions. So we have one for Harani. Yes, Harani. Thank you for your question. We appreciate it. So she wants to know, when reaching out to photographers that models hope to work with, is it appropriate or helpful to add digitals along with the DM?
Yes. Yes. We need to see what you look like.
Yeah. Well, I think in this landscape, I think it's pretty easy to, I don't think they need to send anything if it's a DM because it's automatically attached to your account to where I can see.
You could go back and look.
That too.
I think it would be helpful though, if you have a portfolio link aside from, I mean, I guess if you're starting out, you probably won't have a portfolio link, but I think whatever you can send so that way they don't have to, because a lot of people, they have hundreds of thousands of pictures on their Instagram, and there's, I think, what do they say, quality over quantity, but not a lot of people do that on Instagram, so you might have a lot of pictures you think are amazing, but not something you would send to the photographer you want to work with. So it might be better to just select your best picture and then send it.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, in that space, yeah, definitely. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. That's probably something that, you know, from the model side, that would be more advantageous to know. I just want to know what you look like and know if there's something that I'm working on that you fit for it. You know what I mean? And I can suss that within like 10 frames, you know, on your Instagram. You know, if you have one of those Instagrams that's all about you, you know. Which,
one of the things I can say, speaking to what was just said, I know that I've always been more impressed with if I see 3 amazing photos and nothing else. I tend to be more curious than if I see 20 photos and they're like just okay.
Right. Yeah, there is something to be said to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We do have another question from Chelsea Gaines. She's asking, for models taking Chaz, this is right up your alley. For models taking their own pictures in the midst of COVID-19 and beyond, what advice do you have for lighting and color of lighting for artificial lights, especially focusing on different skin tones? Actually, this is both of you guys. I thought it was gearing towards like home lockdown. How do you take your own pictures? FaceTime photo shoot.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of that. I would say, and I can only speak, I can speak on both ends, just because light is the key. I mean, that's really comes down to, and you can parse that however you want to, or create different lanes for that, that simple sentiment. But I would say, just as I'm scouting people's homes as I'm working with them. So I'm going, hey, let's find the light. Where's a window? Where is somewhere that maybe you're able to have a curtain that maybe can diffuse the light, where we can get a nice even lighting on you? Where can we, you know, if it is artificial light, I try not to, as best I can. I don't like mixing lights if I could help it. But I know that, you know, a lot of New York apartments may be inside of a building, so you don't have direct access to that. So you have to be creative. But the bottom line is, just like you said from the beginning, that you have to make sure the light's in front of you for the most part, unless you're trying to do something really moody and creative, and maybe you'll have something where you're doing like a silhouette or something like that. But by and large, I would say just make sure that your lighting is fairly even, not harsh. Try to have some sort of, you know, diffusing by way of, you know, a sheer, you know, curtain or something like that. But I just think it's up to us as photographers to get you in the best light, so that you look your best when we shoot together. So,
well, her question though is specifically like taking your own pictures at home.
If you can, like Chaz says, if you can find a window and that light's on you, like right now I'm sitting, there's a window directly in front of me. And so the light's even. It's fairly bright all over. That's the kind of thing you want to look for. If you don't have access to that, your brightest room with a plain wall where the light is on you and it's as even, like Chaz says, as can be, that's one way to do it too. You know, unless you're really a great creative, you want to stay away from the moody stuff, because as a model, the first thing I want to see is really what you look like. It's
right.
Really, you know, the job of makeup, hair, photography, and stylists to make you into something else and set a mood. Or if, you know, the mood is the mood, but when we need to see what you look like, it needs to be clean and clear.
And that just goes, we didn't really touch much on digitals, but that kind of covers the digitals too, because when you're looking to be scouted, or whether you're signed or not, you should always have digitals. I need to update mine, but you want to basically have them in front of a white wall or solid background, And it wants to be natural makeup, natural lighting, hair pulled out of your face so they can see your features, and then just like wearing all black, or maybe a white tank top and black pants, or a white tank top and blue pants, or just all black leggings. But it should be form fitting. They want to see your shape. They want to see how you look naturally. And then that's something you could do simple at home, as long as you have good lighting, and you could do it on your iPhone or whatever smartphone you have.
I know.
Makeshift like setup. I actually have my laptop sitting on a chair right now, and then there's some books on top, and then there's my laptop. So if you don't have a tripod or anything, just have something where your phone can rest and take your pictures. Set it on the timer, and then you're good to go.
I would say also with the artificial light, I know a lot of people are using ring lights nowadays.
Yeah, that too.
And things of that nature, because it's something that is essentially a beauty dish. And, you know, everyone wants to look their best. And I think, you know, those are fairly cheap. You go on Amazon if you're looking at doing, you know, artificial lighting. I mean, obviously, ideally, as photographers, we enjoy, you know, granted, you know, there's studio photography and also natural light photography.
Yeah,
but
ring light's very helpful.
Yeah.
Basically, because ring light is right around the lens. And so it technically, just by the way it's built, it just sort of lights things evenly. It has a particular look. You almost always know it's ring light, but the kind of ring lights they have on the market now are generally very helpful for taking good photographs with your camera phone.
Yeah, so you can get that on Amazon. I don't know how much they are, but there's actually some YouTubers who make them themselves for $25 or less. You can look up on YouTube how to do a DIY ring light. You can also buy on Amazon like a tripod. That's something that you might want to invest in if you're going to be doing at-home photos a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I think nowadays everything is DIY. So, you know, people are creating ring lights now. I didn't know that was a thing. I know
that yesterday.
It's been an old thing. There's a senior working photographer, Baron Claiborne, who would make his own ring lights. In fact, he DP'd on a lot of Hype Williams videos. Some of that ring light was homemade ring light.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's an old thing.
Yeah.
And which is one of the things that I champion is if you know of any older models who've been in the game, talk to them, ask them questions. It's really, forget what you've been told. It's important to connect with people that have experience, because you can avoid certain pitfalls and mistakes, and you can learn things, and you'll get advice that you won't get anywhere else. So if you can talk to someone who's been a model for a good while, and that's willing to talk with you, ask them questions about how things are done.
Definitely. Like, I'm still learning. I have a long ways to go on my journey. I'm always like reaching out to other models and asking them advice. And then when I get questions in my DM, I'm always willing to answer, which brought upon this webinar series. And I was like, okay, let me bring some professionals in each category. Yesterday we did hair and makeup. Monday I was with another talented model named Lunira. And then today I have these amazing photographers. We have another question, and then we're going to wrap up. I'm happy we have so many questions, guys. Thanks for the interaction. So is there a difference in light that is even and the light that is flat?
Generally, even light is kind of flat.
Yeah.
Ring light has a way of making the light not look flat because of the nature of the light. So if you are adverse to flat light, or it looks flat to you and you don't like the way it looks, ring light is one approach. Another approach is changing the angle of your light. Since Michael looks like he's a photographer, the angle of your light will change whether or not it's flat. So for instance, if you look at the lighting on Chaz right now, it's not flat lighting. There's brighter on one side, darker on another. There's a bit of a mood to it. My light's a bit more flat. There isn't as much contrast, but it's bright. So that's a trial and error sort of thing. I always feel like, as much as I've gone to school for photo science, I always feel like take the picture first and look at it and make your adjustments accordingly. Don't get too bogged down in the science. Know the science so that you can get your desired results, but don't let it stop you.
Right.
You know, if we let science stop us, we would never have had hip hop because you wouldn't have used the turntable as an instrument.
Right. That's a topic for another day.
Another thing I wanted to touch on is the FaceTime photography that you do, Chaz, and just if you two can give us models and creative tips, what can we be doing right now in this time of quarantine while we're all at home? I know a lot of influencers and myself, I'm like obsessed with TikTok. I just found out that there are some model scouts on TikTok. I didn't know that, but I'm about to get up on there with my face looking all natural and record a video. But yeah, like what can we do at home? How can we do our own photo shoots or connect with photographers for shoots? Like, are there ways around it?
Well, I mean, shameless plug. I mean, you can book with me. No, I tell you what. I mean, I think us photographers, we've come to a place where we're wondering where our next shoot is going to come from, where our next money is going to come from, and there's frustration setting in, and there's things like that. But I think, as anything, the strong survive. Either the pressure makes you a diamond or it crumbles you. So I've found a way to be able to do photography with FaceTime photos, which I actually did with my mom for a couple of years already, just by taking photos of her through my phone, right? So as this all started happening, I'm like, I got to keep shooting. There's got to be a way. There's people at home. I can shoot them. And if they have the same sort of, phone, I could shoot them and I could direct them and I could speak to them just as if we were in each other's presence. Mm-hmm. But, social distancing and everything that's going on now, I'm like, well, hey, find someone that that's a photographer. They may end up, I think now it's becoming a trend and people are catching on. You may find some of your favorite photographers that are doing it. Some people will kind of poo-poo on it and be like, oh, well, it's just a COVID-19 trend. But at the same time, a lot of the same size of the prints of these digital prints on FaceTime, they're actually the same size and quality that will be on Instagram anyway, but except they don't have any additional reduction of quality. So I'm like, well, why not? And
I agree with you. And I'm an old schooler, but I agree.
I've been to 4 continents. I've been around the world with this thing. I shot in Africa, Lithuania, Russia, Canada. I've been to Brazil. Like I'm doing this, except I'm directing, move over there. No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Right.
Shot. Shot. Like, and then I get all the images. So I send you the edits. So it's a really fun process. And even if you just want a different voice in your ear that's not in your current household, and you just want somebody while you're getting photographs taken, it works in so many different ways. So, I mean, anyone in lockdown or COVID or whatever you want to call it, FaceTime photo shoots are fun if you have an iPhone. Some photographers I found are actually using their real camera because they want the quality and to be able to, the size and quality and stuff. But it's debatable as to how that.
They're using their real camera to snap the screen.
People are trying to do it, and I actually, to be honest with you, I have a good friend of mine. You should look him up. His name is Jeremy Cowart. If you don't already follow him, he's amazing.
I'll write it in the messages. Jeremy Cowart.
Jeremy Cowart, and he's doing these virtual photo shoots where he has a whole setup in his house where has an HD projector that he funnels through his phone. And he takes photos of the images on his wall in a very dark, very high res, super clear sort of thing. He makes art around those images and created moments for different people that have different moods. So if you find a photographer that's really creative and you love what they do with the camera and they're doing something, a little bit different and out of the box without one, find someone to shoot with. That's the bottom line. Because we all need interaction right now. And if you can find someone that's able to, be there for you and just to have another a voice in your ear aside from like husband, wife, kids, or anything like that, and you want to feel beautiful or handsome and still be out there, so to speak, because a lot of people's content is slowed down and they're digging in the archives. So hey, why not?
Yeah.
That's true.
Listen, where there's a need, hey, I'm here to fill it. So be creative. Get a tripod, buy a ring light. How do we go about booking with
So
you?
that's for both of you guys. If you can share your information, I'll just
just reach out to us. I'm on Instagram as Keith Major, but you can give them my website, my email address. So email me.
Okay, so yeah. So you can do that.
It's insane how easy it is to find people now.
So I know both of you guys have pages on Facebook. So if you guys are watching this through Facebook, just type in their names. Keith Major, I think yours is Keith Major Photography.
And then
I have two. I have Keith Major and I have Keith Major Photography.
Okay.
And you can just go to keithmajor.com. If you go to keithmajor.com, you'll be able to see website. You'll be able to do Instagram. Everything is there for you.
Right.
You can contact me directly through email. So keithmajor.com is probably best. That's KEITHMAJOR.com. No S in major, just major, not majors.
And for me, I go by Langley's Eye. So that's LANGLEY, which is my last name, Langley. And then you go SEYE. So all together, it runs together as Langley's Eye. And you can go langleyseye.com, and that will lead you to my Instagram as well. And any other sort of social media outlets should be at my website. And you can see other types of work that I do on there as well. But right now, I believe I have my homepage as a booking page.
All right. Ain't no wrong with that.
And then I'm also on AbyssiniaCampbell.com. I know I have a long name. You can find me on Instagram under Abyssinia Campbell, YouTube Abyssinia Campbell, Facebook Abyssinia Campbell. And then you could also watch these videos. They will be stored on YouTube and Facebook, so you can go back and watch them anytime. We want to thank all of you guys for all of your lovely comments and questions. We appreciate you for tuning in and participating.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, also, if you had a question for me that hasn't been answered, feel free to contact me directly at keithmajor.com.
Perfect. And the same for me. You can go on info@chazlangley.com.
Yeah, so guys, find us on Instagram. We're always here. Well, we're definitely willing to help you guys and share information and help you guys along the journey.
Absolutely. Well, Keith, it was nice sharing this platform with you, brother. I can't wait to connect with you in the real world.
Yes, same here. Thanks for your input, and it's exciting to hear, that you're chartering the new courses and shooting remotely.
Yeah. And Abyssinia, thank you so much for the platform to be able to share.
Of course. Thank you guys for joining. I'm so honored to have you. And take care, stay well, everyone. Stay blessed.
All right. Likewise.
All right.